Hello, everyone. My name is Josephine or Josie. I am here today from Westlake High School, and I am currently in the Environmental Science Career Track or Career Emphasis Program. So, for the past 2 years, I have been learning about and expanding my overall knowledge about the world around me and my impact. And what inspires me in life is the ubiquity of climate change and how the effects of environmental degradation sees no borders and sees no difference between people, animals, any species. It inspires me because everyone suffers from climate change, no matter where you go in the world. And while it seems like as an individual, it is hard to make a change in such a huge scale of problems, I do believe that everyone in this room is able to make a change as an individual, but also as a collective. So for me, my change, I am planning on studying architecture in college next year, and I'm looking to go into sustainable building and sustainable kind of city planning, because I do think that that can be improved upon. But then also in my personal life, I don't eat any meat because meat consumption is a huge cause of like water waste and then also energy. And then I try to reduce the amount I drive. And it's these small things in my life that I find connect myself with the issue of climate change overall. And I'm able to remind myself that I have an individual role, but then also a collective role with my community and how I can improve on my behaviors. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nina. I'm also a senior at Westlake High School, and just like Josie and all these other people, this is my second year in the environmental science program at Westlake, and what really got me first interested in environmental science was taking chemistry, and just as a side note, that's like what I want to do, what I want to major in college also, and so basically, when I was learning more about chemistry and about different materials, I got interested into renewable technologies like solar panels and electric vehicles. And I learned that even though that's more helpful in reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, which creates greenhouse gases when we burn them, there's also another drawback to actually making these technologies that they require a lot of critical minerals to actually create the materials that will have like the photovoltaic cells to like get energy from the sun. So, and basically, these making these technologies requires a lot of critical minerals, which you have to mine, and then that brings in a lot more energy that you have to use, and it's often really unsustainable to create. So that's just what got me like really interested into environmental science because on one hand, these renewable technologies seem good, but then when you look at into the actual making of them, there's also some drawbacks. And that's something that I also learned about taking these classes is that there's not like one solution, even though one solution might seem good as well, like other perspectives are just as justifiable and you really have to work together and be open to collaboration and communicating to figure out like is there a balance that we can do or like what's the best solution for all of us, and I think that's just really interesting and that's something that I hope to do in the future to continue to communicate and hopefully with chemistry as I study more into it I can create like sustainable materials or like alternatives to these that are really unsustainable right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Danica. I'm also a senior at Westlake High School, and I plan to study environmental science in college, specifically environmental policy. And what first got me interested in the environment was about 8 years ago. I think of this as kind of the start of my passion for the environment. I watched a documentary called Kiss the Ground, and it really just showed me that the agricultural side of things is so influential and absolutely poor agricultural practices have been so detrimental, but also that's where the solution lies, is in the ground and protecting sustainable agricultural methods like crop rotation and organic composting. These things are incredibly important for the environment. 8 years ago, I also went vegetarian, and the amount of times that I've heard someone say to me, "You're just one person, you're not making a difference," but that's absolutely not true. It's up to our small everyday actions that we take, and every single person in this room and in the world has a moral obligation to take care of the earth around us. God created everything on earth, and it is our responsibility to protect it and preserve it and always act in its best interest. So, thank you.
Hello. Hello everyone, my name is Jonah Kim. I'm a senior at Westlake High School, and I completed the environmental science course track last year. And I want to start by calling again on what we heard in the presentation, that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. And even though one person's actions might be one person's, and they might make only a small difference in global carbon emissions, the inspiration starts with one person. And I've heard so much tonight about reducing your consumption, and I completely agree with it. But we can also reframe the way we consume. Things that require effort, but not as much reduction. I believe in both. One example of this is buying from companies that have positive environmental practices. Sustainable purchasing, you can consume still, but consuming from the correct locations is vastly important. Another thing citizens can do is write to their representatives. We have political representation, and petitioning is something that requires no personal cost. And one more thing, there's a novel technology called ChatGPT. Many have heard of it, many begin to use it. And it is something that is critical in that it consumes a large portion of water in cooling and energy generation. It is something that is not necessary to adopt to your lifestyle, and I urge people not to adopt it into their lifestyle because it is not necessary, therefore.
Principal LA Diocese on Climate Change. Imam Matar, thank you very much. Joe Zubak, where'd you go? Thank you very much to representing Christianity. Raja Rani, back there, for representing Hinduism. And I would like to thank the students for standing up and speaking their hearts and their minds. And I'm going to say the one student who spoke to my question is, AI is eating a lot of energy. It's not just ChatGPT, it's AI is eating a lot of energy. And they're working on addressing that part, but that was my question, what about that part that's eating energy? So I would also like to thank Jen Boyd. We'd like to thank you for arranging for those students to be here. And I want to thank the committee that was special. We don't usually have a special committee for our events, but this time we did. And I do want to thank Aggie, who is also part of the Ventura County Interfaith Community I didn't introduce earlier. And Carrie Sadler. Yeah. And my husband, and then I'll say myself. and Mary Mendenhall. So thank you. And Rabbi Mike, he asked me, and we have one final thing, and I think he's right.
So in Jewish tradition, when you have a sort of problematic, troubling presentation, such as the one we heard, there is a desire for a nechemta. A nechemta means words of comfort. And although this is slightly off the subject, I want to mention the following. It's from a book called Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Harari. And it points out that throughout human history, until about 150 years ago or so, there were three constants in human history. Constant number one, war. Everybody understood that we were always either in war or preparing for the next war. The idea that we shouldn't have war, no one ever considered. Constant number 2, famine. Everybody understood the crops failed, or bugs attack the crops, rain doesn't come, and millions of people die. The idea that you would think famine is something we ought to not have, absurd. Famine has been a constant of human history going back hundreds of thousands of years. Constant number 3, plague. Everybody understood that every now and again, a plague hits and millions of people die. What Yuval Harari points out is, in the last 100, 150 years, we as a humanity have decided this is not okay. If Ebola breaks out somewhere, we don't wring our hands and say, gee, it's too bad for those folks that are all gonna die from this. No, we send people in spacesuits and accommodate and try and fix that. We rush through a vaccine for COVID in record time. We teach and preach and try to practice not to go to war. So we haven't had World War III yet. And we have United Nations, and I don't know anybody who thinks war is a good idea. And famine. If people are starving, we do our best to solve that problem and get food to people that are hungry. So I just want to point out that these are 3 constants throughout human history. And in our time, we've gotten a lot wrong, but at least we're on the right track on these things. And I would say if we can be on the right track about those things, we can also be on the right track about climate change.
So I hope you can take something away with you tonight that you can remember in how we serve each other and how we serve the gift that God has given us, and grow in your own faith and serve. So thank you so much for being here tonight.